Hi. Hello and welcome to the Loretta Nash Show Lore's blog. Um, I really got two blogs, two podcasts, so I'm not really sure. I'm going to post them on both of them, either one. Okay, what today is November the 10th, 2022. Yeah. Okay, first topic. Hold on for a second. I didn't start it. Okay, there we go. I had to start the clock. Whoa. Oh, okay. Okay. The first topic or the first thing I'm going to do is who are you and what you do? Well, I'm an artist. I've been doing the art stuff for a lifetime. I don't know where it really got started. Um, I was thinking about it last night. I guess it got started when my first box of crayons and a coloring book, because I would mark on everything. And I guess getting a book and using the crayons on the book and learning to write, learning to draw, teaching myself that, because mama had to do what she had to do, dad was at work, and grandma did what she had to do. I don't remember much of it. I do remember the coloring book coming and the crayons and losing my crayons in the truck that we used to get over from Arizona here. Okay. I wanted to be a teacher at one time, but I've always had this uh thing of art, and you got to believe was born in the 70s, 1970. And then in the 70s, we didn't have a little bit of much of anything really. Um, we lived out in the farm. I'm getting all my topics. I'm trying to be professional and do this. So, we lived out in the country, and there really wasn't very much that we could do in the 70s and 80s, because we really didn't have anything. I mean, not what we have now. I mean, internet everywhere, cable TV. I mean, I remember friends having cable and satellite dishes and stuff, and them talking about MTV and stuff. I never got to see MTV. The only other channel that I got to see when we had to turn it to the UHS thing was 24 and 30, because normally the TV only went up to 13. Um, it's just we only had that many channels here. Um, so, and being raised in the 70s, the only other thing we did besides walk the dogs, so many out and live out in a big, huge farm field, and our nearest neighbor, we had one neighbor that was like less than half a block away from us, but we had to cross this wooden bridge to get to her trailer, and she already had teenage boys, and they were getting ready to get older and graduate, and that's the only thing I can remember. I mean, I remember a lot more about the farm, but that's basically pretty much all I can remember. Um okay, let me get back to the topic. Well, I took got up to here to the junior high. You're getting ready to get ready for life. Uh Band. I went and took band, and I picked up the trumpet. Because I wanted to do that. Well, 8th grade, I learned how to play it and got pretty good at it. I thought was pretty good. Next year, 9th grade. Well, I got to march in the band. Yeah, yeah, I got marched in the band. And then I started taking art class, art one, and my art teacher, Miss Ernie, I've been doodling and diddling and all kinds of stuff beforehand because we really didn't have hardly anything to do. And when I was 13, I got a Crayola spinny thing that had markers and pencils and crayons and stuff. Oh, I loved that thing because it was all put in. It had watercolors and I mean, we did all kinds of stuff. We did paint by numbers. I mean, and then mom and dad would, put them up in the house, and uh, I would sometimes just grab if I had typing paper or a little sketchbook, I would draw. But in ninth grade, I took band and art, and the classes that we had. I only had 6 classes when I was in junior high. Well, we got up here to the high school. Well, I didn't want to march in the band, uh, mainly because I didn't try out. And then on top of that, my sister was already in marching band. My one brother was already in marching band. And then the little brother just got into 7th grade. And so, you know, I just didn't, my little brother just got in the 7th grade. So since we only had 6 classes, I took art. Um, it was and I took all 4 years of art. And boy, was my art teacher, Miss Ross, she was tough. I mean, I wanted to be a comic book artist for a long time there. That's what I wanted to do. I liked comics. My mama had some comics back when she was a little kid in the 60s. I mean, we brought them home because, they were getting ruined. They were out in the elements and they were getting really, really ruined. And then we didn't put them away. And my dad got mad one time and just took all of them, took every last one of them and took it out to the barrel. Well, I call it the barrel because that's pretty basically what it was a barrel that we would put our garbage in. Because back then, we didn't have garbage trucks that came out. I don't even think we had a garbage truck until, no? Well, actually, I hadn't really had the garbage truck. I mean, I would see them whenever they go and get the dumpster stuff. But out at Proctor, where I lived on the farm, we never had a whatever trash we had a big old barrel that we would, set fire. So every so often, Dad would put the papers in, and he just decided we didn't keep the comic books clean. We didn't pick them up, and he just got mad that day and just took every one of them. I mean, if we had them today, I mean, she had a Donald Duck. Disney Donald Duck. I can remember. And then she had a few Disney ones. I mean, she had really good comic books. I mean, I think she had a few of the Disney Zorros back then, and he just took, and I do remember the Lone Ranger one. Yeah, she did have a Lone Ranger one. And so she took it. He took all of them because we didn't keep it clean, and he just took every bit of them and just burned them in the trash can. We actually had 2 barrels for it, and I'm gonna go off and we would go and see this raccoon we called Bandit. We called her Bandit because she was missing her front leg, and that's what we called her. And we would see her go and pick out the garbage out of there. But of course, we also had, going to the barrels, we had a pear tree. Oh, sweet pears! Oh, those! It was actually a half a pear tree. but it was such a beautiful tree. It was half burnt, and oh, we had in the backyard we had pears, and then it was nice on a nice hot summer day. You can when the pears were starting to fall, or like now the late fall, and they're falling off of them, and you just go and those pears were so sweet. They were sweeter than the ones when I lived on Roosevelt over here. The Roosevelt pears were, we inherited a house. Me and my husband, we inherited a house. And the house had a pear tree. That pear tree, ooh, those pears were sour and hard as a rock. And, oh, they were horrible. But once you put the sugar in them and fixed them up and put them in pear preserves or make pear butter, they were really, really good. And a lot of people would come and ask us to, do it, to go and get some. And people would come out with bushels, and I mean, that's when we inherited the house. Okay, let me get back to I wanted to be a school teacher, um, but then I'm the oldest of four kids, and so I wanted to be a school teacher because I was the oldest, and I guess I don't know why, but the only other people I had around my age was my sister and my brothers. That was it. That's all we had. That's all I had besides sitting there watching TV. Uh, you know, watch my mama read a book, or try to do her quilting. And then when grandma left, moved away. You know, it was very interesting. Okay, well, of course, I wanted to be a comic book artist. Oh, I would copy the comic books. I would go to the library. They had a book at the library that shows you how to draw this, how to draw that. So when we go to the library, that's what I would get, is the books, the simple books of how to draw this, how to draw that. These little bitty books. I think that was around 13 before I really even took Art 1. And I made an A on, I did a portrait of my little brother with his cowboy boots. He was sitting in a chair. And if I remember the picture, I don't know if my mama still has it, but I know she's got it somewhere. I think she's got it somewhere, but I made an A on it. It was sharp colors. I think what I can remember, it was more cubist. I'm showing off my art stuff, but I think it was kind of cubist because I did his features very, very sharp. His boots were very, very sharp, and I got an A on that. Art 1 was pretty easy. Art 2 and 3 with Miss Ross was a little tougher. She was in the era that comics was not considered art. So we never really got to do comic book or anime or any of the stuff that my daughter likes to do today, or anything, or these books. I got the books and stuff, and my artwork kind of looks a little comic booky, but that's just because I liked it when I did it. I wanted to be one, but I took art, and I had to learn all the history. I had to learn why Rodin did this, why Degas did this. Why Audrey Beardsley drew like this. I'm just picking people out from, we had to learn art history. We had to learn art movements. This is with just Miss Ross. We had a little bit of with my Miss Ernie, but not much, but more focused on Miss Ross. She liked to use oil more. So of course, those 2 years, we was in another room and it was oil, and we had to do oil, and we did this. The whole class had to do these ties. She set up this uh still life of nothing but ties, and that's what we did, was ties, and did those, which was very interesting. And I had to learn how to get the oil paint right and everything. And we didn't do, like, use the linseed oil to thin it down or anything. Only thing we had to thin it down back then, or that's all she showed us. I mean, I've learned more now, even going on and looking at other artists. I now that I use the linseed oil when I do the oil paintings, I mean, it's smoother. It doesn't dry as fast, but it is a little smoother, the blending, and it don't washes. And it don't, if I accidentally put too much water in the paint or too much turpentine in the, it won't melt it. But whenever I put too much linseed oil, it kind of makes it look like a watercolor. If I put too much linseed oil in the in there, yeah, yeah, okay. Uh, Art 2 and Art 3 at the high school, she had us to learn everything. Uh, Besides use the oils, that's what she was mainly did. I had to do it, so I still have a paintbrush that my parents bought from her. I still have it, and that was a long time ago, and it smells good. Sometimes I would, when I'm in there painting, when I used the paintbrush that she got, that they got for me from her. I used it mainly to do my blending when I went to college, and did the blending for the highlights and the shadings, and I used it to scrub because it was so stiff. Okay, okay, so I did go to college. My last school art teacher was Miss Gary. Um, she she was the art teacher at the junior high, and she just recently, just about for some well, a few years ago, she was she retired back and got out of retirement and became the art teacher again at the high school, and then she did the art teacher at East again, where she was at the first time, and and everything. So okay, I went to college. Now the college is called Blue Mountain Christian University. Yeah, I have to get used to the name because it's whew, my time is almost getting up for this because I'm going to try to do this for 45 minutes. Okay, so went to college, didn't decide on my major until the last semester. I was already taking all the art classes, and if you look at my transcript, it looked like I skipped. I know one year I didn't do any art at all. Um, I mean, I didn't take any art class, and that was a very bad year. Really, it was. My grades went, and it wasn't very good. But then, whenever I picked up art again, everything started getting better. And then, of course, picking out my art as my major, my last semester, uh, my professor, the art professor, he said, "I figured you would." Okay, this thing did weird. I really don't know what's going on. Okay, okay. I just got up to college. Okay, so I'm up to college part. Um, and I chose to be an artist. Or choose fine arts as my degree. Uh, took all, just for the fun of it, I took the art in the home. Excuse me. It was just something that I did. Okay. Let's go ahead to another topic. About my life. Well, I lived on a farm most of my life. I do. Let me see what I can remember. What I was thinking last night. I do kind of remember living in apartments when we lived in Arizona. I kind of remember it, bits and pieces. Um, but my dad got offered to move from Arizona because he was already doing farm work for a guy, and his dad, I guess, needed him here, and so he moved us here, and we rode in the back of all things. Me, my sister, my little brother was, well, how old was he? He was 3, and we all were in a camper in the back of a truck. A camper that in the back of the truck that all it had in it was a mattress. That's where I lost my crayons. I forgot what the coloring book was. I want to say Disneyland, but it's not. And somehow I lost my crayons. Apparently, it was under the mattress that we were in it. So my grandma had to be my mom and my dad. Yeah, my mom and my dad was up front. They were in the camper. It was lucky enough. It was uh, October, so it was kind of not really cold, and we of course was hugging the South. So brand new opening I-40, yeah, and then of course we're coming in the time of the great what they say that happened in '76 uh uh oil stuff. I don't remember that. All I can remember is being in the back of the truck uh, trying the color, fell asleep most of the time because apparently sick I get sick when I take long trips, and it's a motion sickness. I found that out easily because I took a DN, sent it to the thing, and it says bingo, you do get motion sickness. Um, so that explains why I would sleep a lot. And of course, my grandma would be back there with all 4 of us. And, I got a 3-year-old brother, and I got a 4-year-old brother, and a 5-year-old sister. I mean, they do, and well, I mean, we're stepletters. 654. Yeah, 6543. That's, I had to remember what it is. It's 6543 because our birthdays were all together. And so we moved to a farm it actually was the original house with the pear tree. The original house actually burnt, and we were in the prefab house. And I think the prefab house was in the 60s. I'm saying about 60s because it was there for a while. Yeah, I mean, you can still look on Google Maps and see it out there right by by the shed. I have to watch my mouth because my diction is not very good, and people always do that. Yeah, always mistake what I say for something else, but it's not that bad because some people. Let me go ahead and start talking about my husband. Okay, my husband had a very pronounced speech impediment. I mean, very, very pronounced. If you've ever heard someone learning to, a deaf person learning to talk, a deaf person learning to talk, his speech was similar to that. I mean, according to what he had to be on disability, apparently he was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. And of course, the cerebral palsy locked his jaw, since his jaw was not very, you know, not very, he couldn't open his mouth very big, and he would choke himself if he get a certain big of food. I noticed a lot sometimes that he would choke himself, because his mouth would not. If he ate too big, he would choke, and but that was just something about it. And I met him. My husband had cerebral palsy and that a very pronounced speech impediment. I met him, of all things, at my mama's cousin's house, because his grandpa was actually kin to my mama through one of her was kin to her. And so I met him. He was the same age as my little brother. He was 8 months older than my little brother, but basically he growing up with him, we basically, when we go visit him occasionally, he'd be over there at the grandma's house. Got to go to his grandpa's funeral. That's why I got his grandpa's uh, he's an adopted grandpa. He wasn't the biological grandpa. Um, yeah, he wasn't the biological grandpa. Uh, his wife was actually the biological sister to his grandma. So, but it gets complicated on that part. Um, and then it gets really complicated on the Nash part. But of course, she adopted his mother, and his mother worked a lot. Um, she worked a lot. I mean, lot. She would do anything. I'm not that way. I never was. But I remember I really didn't meet her very much. But apparently she would get through with one um, waitressing job. She would get another waitressing job in the same day. So basically, my husband was, pretty much had to raise himself. I mean, he, of course, had aunts that worked normal times, and he had his grandma, which we would always come and, he'd be, when his mama had to work 2 or 3 jobs in one day, he would be over there with his grandma. I mean, his mom and his dad separated. I have no idea when they separated. All I know is how the story goes is his dad did something, and Grandma Nita found out, and she ripped that girl's hair out, and then divorced him, and then she had to wind up being a single parent and had to raise my husband for a long time and raised him. And they stayed at these apartments, Mayflower, Mayflower over here. And what's really cool, or what kids don't understand whenever I was subbing, that I was integrated into the classes. You got to think, 70s integration really happened in the 60s. And then we come around and it's in the 70s. Well, it didn't bother me as much, is because when we was living in Arizona, uh, the classes that I had, being, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, being that age, and most everybody was either a Native American, Hispanic, and maybe a few whites. I mean, it didn't matter to me back then. And then when we moved up here to the farm, to the farm, apparently the closest school, they had to integrate me over at Wedlock, and at Wedlock was it was sorry, uh, got a tickle in my throat. Um, it was an African American school for a long time there. I mean, we used to go and see the pictures, or whenever I was going class to class, and we walked by the principal's office, you can see it on in the pictures. There was no one of my ethnicity until I don't know, 60 something, and then of course, uh, me and maybe two other people were of our ethnicity in there, and then on top of that, here's the craziest thing: my husband, who lived way up here on the north part, he had to go down to the, oh wonder, the African American school to be integrated in. Even though he had a school, all he had to do is 2 blocks, less than a block and a half down to go to school. And he couldn't figure out why he had to ride the bus to go to, but then, I told him why they did it is because they were integrated and, trying to make integration in there. Well, he got up, and I remember him when he broke his leg. I do remember him walking around with a cast on his leg, and of course, he really didn't. He when if he was around, he would say he didn't know how to read. I mean, they just pat him on the back, all right, and then just push him to the next grade. Um, he got hooked on phonics and taught himself how to read after he graduated from high school. Because I do remember the hooked on phonics. We we had it for a while, and of course, I guess it just cluttered, and we just chunked it when we married, and everything, because a lot of stuff. And then, of course, we inherited the house. We were gonna go live with his grandma for a while. Um, but she was in very bad shape of dementia. I just got through with my grandma being in dementia. My grandma started having dementia. I guess she probably 80 something. I don't know. She probably was in the 80s. 1980 is probably whenever, because I guess that's why she moved out, because she was starting to get her dementia. And then, of course, she didn't die until 97, and my mama had to put her in a home in Iuka. And main reason why she had to do it and put her in one in Iuka is because she had land in Mississippi, and she would get letters, and that land didn't have nothing on it but a house, a well, and an outhouse. Cause I remember going out there at Christmas a couple of times. We went to that house. And I do remember, about the when we got on the car in the coming back from Christmas, and in the truck and sleeping, and we were sleeping on, and that time coming back from in the truck with the camper, we didn't have a mattress, so I slid and I raised up. I didn't know my dad had a wreck. Raised up, and of course I whammed, hit my left eye, And then I think that's where I got my crick in my back. And I was 10 or 11, or about to be 10, because I think for that whole year, my eye was so swollen and everything. I mean, I looked weird having a huge black eye, and that was not a good time. I looked funny with my blonde hair and my green eyes, my pale green, almost these 7 Up looking green eyes, and 7 Up container green eyes, and having that purple eye for, yeah, I think I had that purple eye for about a year. So I probably did crack my bones in my cheekbone. I probably did. I mean, minute crack. Because my sister, we were playing on the trampoline, and of course we couldn't watch cartoons on Saturday mornings anymore, because they decided we couldn't watch cartoons, and so we started watching wrestling. Well, we went to this house that a friend of ours at church was having a little thing. They just happened to by chance have a trampoline, and Elizabeth was doing body slams on my brother's arm. Well, come to find out, my brother had a crack in his arm, so he had to wear a sling on that. So I probably did have a busted eye. I mean, if I was a little bit shorter, I would have lost my eye. It was lucky enough where it hit, but the force of the sliding and the accident, I guess I did, when I raised up, and then that snap, that did probably, cause my backache. And, everybody's like, why are you limping like that? Maybe that's why. Oh, I've been so accident prone. Um, and then of course, my husband was the same way. I know we went off on him breaking his arm. Well, apparently, uh, just recently, they did an X-ray, and he had some ribs that were sore, and he wondered why they were tender, and that's what it was. He actually got them cracked when apparently when he broke his arm. Okay, let's see. Uh, I'm almost done. Okay, or let me get this in. Okay, my time is up for this part, and I will continue next episode. Be sure to subscribe and check out my art on Laura's blog. You can purchase the originals or products with my works on them by Googling Loretta Nash, Lore, or a West Memphis artist. Mainly, it'll take you to Fine Arts America. I'm definitely on there. I'm on Redbubble, and just subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode. But why was you still undecided for such a long time? I mean, 3.5 years I was undecided, but I was still taking all the basic classes, doing all the things, and doing all that I needed to do. And then, of course, taking the art classes and learning how to do the stuff there, design and painting and the drawing classes. I mean, he but we're about to be on a hard break, so I'm going to break for a little bit, and I'll see you back in just a bit.